Hello, it's some dust or something. I'm here today to talk about the Ceratosaurus in Path of Titans. Now, the Ceratosaurus is actually a very interesting dinosaur, and it's one of the most beloved mid-tiers, and it really has been ever since it was first released. The Cerato's gone through a lot of changes in its time. For one thing, I believe it's gone through a model change, but also in this last Night Stalker update, its biggest benefit, which was the fact that it had a bone break, was removed. And despite that, I still see more Ceratos now than I think I ever have. And why is that? Well, that's going to come down to this thing in general, its stats, its kits, how you can use it, and we're going to go into all of that today to see if this is a dinosaur you might want to consider growing in Path of Titans. To start off, I might have mentioned the Ceratosaurus is a mid-tier. Now, that basically means it's somewhere down the middle of the line when it comes to its stats. You know, it's not the fastest, it's not the biggest, it's not the bulkiest, but it's not the slowest and it's not the weakest. Definitely not. Its sprint speed hovers right around 1000, so that's slower than something like a Metri, a Conch, or an Alio, but it's not slow, by no means. Its stamina is okay. When you're sprinting, you'll go through it sort of fast, but it's not the worst I've seen, not by a long shot. It's better than plenty of other dinosaurs. Whenever it comes to its combat weight is the same as a Metriacanthosaurus, so again, middle of the road, nothing too special there. So going through these stats, you may say, alright, there's nothing special about the Ceratosaurus, and at first look, that's how it seems, but you get into this thing's kit and you start to see where it really shines, so we're going to get into that. First of all, you have two head slots here, and in those head slots you can run either a bite or a charged bite. Now this used to be the bone break attack. It's no longer the bone break attack. Instead, it just does more damage based on how long it's held. And believe it or not, the damage output on that can be really solid. The reason why this is so huge, even though it doesn't have bone break anymore, is because it does not use stamina. The bone break attack was very stamina heavy, as were plenty of other attacks that the Cerato had. To get a full charge like that, it would run you down pretty considerably on your stamina bar, and now it doesn't do that. In the head slot, it also used to have a headbutt attack, which did more than the basic bite, but again, used stamina. And I believe the Cerato even had an arm slot, or a claw slot, where it could do a claw attack that also used stamina, and this made Ceratosaurus a very stamina-heavy dinosaur. It was something you really had to keep in mind when you were playing as this thing, but now, not only does its charge not use stamina, its tail doesn't, and its bite doesn't. In fact, even its jump barely touches your stamina, and that's a really solid jump, by the way. That's like nearly Packy level of jump. So that's really good. That made this thing a lot more viable. Even though it doesn't have the bone break, you can still get a ton of damage output with that charged attack. Now it does have a senses slot, no senses yet. For metabolism, you have a lot of choices here, and that's going to be a common theme. A lot of these slots have plenty of options so that you can really spec it into what you want to play it as. I choose to keep it on hypercarnivore. It's simple, the food drain is slow, there's no drawbacks, but you can run scavenger if you want that faster food and water drain, eating meat, fish, carrion, and bones, or survivalist, which greatly reduces your hunger and water, but also reduces stamina regen. I wouldn't recommend that if you're going to globetrot a lot or if you're going to get into a lot of fights. I would hold on to hypercarnivore. Now, here's the hides, and there's something really cool here I'm going to get into. But first of all, you can run lightweight, increase speed by 10%. Tough scoots increase armor by 25%. That is awesome. And also, resilient scales increase bleed and venom healing by 30%. I'm currently running tough scoots because that armor is a huge deal. That 25% armor really helps you, even though you're not particularly heavy. It helps you to eat up a lot more of those hits. Now, I would say, in my opinion, the best way you can run this is not the way I'm running it. If you're planning on getting a lot of those charged hits off and maybe chasing after something like a Packy or Conchs or other Ceratos, anything like that, I would really lean into this thing's speed capabilities, because while you won't be the fastest, you will still be pretty speedy. This is not the speed subspecies. I'm running balanced, and I did that because originally this was the look I liked the most. But I am seriously considering switching to the speed subspecies. And if I do that, I'm also probably going to switch to lightweight scales for that increased speed. For the back limb, you can get this lead. Now, this is really cool. Increases jump height and decreases fall damage. This is one of the things that makes the Cerato so effective right now as a packy counter, because you can see I jump really high. I already showed you it doesn't go through my stamina that much, but check this out. I am on like a mountain right now. That's a huge fall. Most dinosaurs would die from this fall, if not get their bones broken. But the Cerato, no fall damage. And that's not to say you completely negate fall damage, because you will still take some if you take like a super high fall, but it's barely any. The most I've ever taken was like maybe this much of my health, maybe around here. So arguably the Ceratosaurus handles falling better than packies. And again, it's got the jump similar to a packy, which means that you can get to where they're going, and they can't do that thing they do where they run off a cliff. Most things can't chase them, but you can, and that is just awesome. Highly recommend getting that leap whenever you can. And then on the tail, you do have two choices. You have the tail attack, relatively small damage, causes knockback, or you can go with the balance to gain that increased turning. Now, if I was leaning really hard into the speed, I would probably switch into balance. So if I do switch to a speed subspecies and I get the lightweight scales and everything, I would probably get that as well, just to be a little more mobile. But as I am now, I'm running a semi-defensive Cerato, balanced subspecies with, the extra armor, and so I don't mind having that. I'm still fast enough to kind of kite things and keep things behind me, so I hold on to that for now. That does it for the abilities on this thing. Let's talk about some general overview. What do I think about it? This is a very mobile carnivore, amongst some of the most mobile. Up there, not quite at like a raptor's level, but pretty close to that. Definitely respectable speed, awesome jump. The no fall damage makes this thing a monster. I mean, you can get away from things, you can bait things off cliffs, you can chase packies and whatever else. It is really good in the mobility aspect of its design. I definitely wouldn't mess around in water too much. Water can be a pretty insane drain on your stamina, and you're not necessarily fast in the water either. But you want to be up high, this is a fantastic carnivore for you. And in general, it's just a blast to fight with. Just constantly spamming this charged attack. A lot of dinosaurs have charged attacks that use a lot of stamina. And so your ability to constantly spam that and have consistent high damage output per hit makes you just a nuisance. You can be a very voracious little predator when you do that. So that is it for the kit and what I think about it. It's a really fun dinosaur. In this last update, they changed up how it's played a lot, but I think that it's still pretty good. And now I guess we're going to get into the calls and animations, starting with the broadcast. Next up, we have the heart call. Then the aggro. The alert, which is literally a gunshot. When I first started hearing that, I thought for sure they added like people with guns. Like, I don't know if you know this, but back before the Isles started working on Avirma or whatever they call it, in the old version of the Isle, they were leaning into the idea of having humans with guns. There were like facilities and stuff all over the place, and there was a lot of talk of that happening. And so when I first started hearing that, I thought for sure that that's what they did. They added like people with guns to this game. But no, it's just a really cool alert call. One of my favorites in the game. And here's the low call. I love it. It's quiet, so you can chat without too much worry. And for animations, you have the shake it off, a stretch, a look around, a scratch, and a whatever this is. That's almost exactly what I do when a song comes on the radio that I like. So I really relate to that. And yeah, that's the calls and animations. Now, I'm also going to mention the Cerato has some awesome skins. So I'm going to show those off to you real quick. Turn that back on, get over to the skin tab. First of all, the default really isn't even that bad. You can get these spots, and get the blue crest. It's really cool, honestly. Then you have striped tail. Striped, this is what I'm running right now. I actually got this on a stream the other day. We got Kestrel. Wave. Clown. This is definitely going to be the next thing I go for. I love it. It's really nice. Blueback. Backer. Badger. Collard. Alligator. Albino, and melanistic. So if you're thinking about growing a Cerato, this is an awesome dinosaur for solo and group players alone. I'll say, even though it is really fun to play as a solo player, it is just downright insane. If you get a pack of these guys, you can be just like a huge nuisance. And obviously with the mobility, that opens you up to all sorts of shenanigans involving rocks and mountains and ravines and whatever. You don't have to hardly worry about fall damage at all. Your charged attack does a ton of damage. All of your attacks are very stamina friendly. And that means, you know, you get some practice in with this guy, you can punch up quite a bit. But that about does it for my thoughts on the Ceratosaurus and Path of Titans. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this video was informative for you, if nothing else. And yeah, thanks again for watching and have a great day.